It started as a quiet morning. People went to work, children got ready for school, and the streets were full of life. The sky was blue, the sun was shining, and everything felt normal. Then, everything changed. At first, it looked like clouds. Big black shapes appeared above the cities. But these shapes didn't move like clouds. They were too perfect, too smooth, and they didn't drift with the wind. One by one, they appeared first over New York, then London, Paris, Moscow, Beijing, and hundreds of other places around the world. People looked up, confused. Some thought it was a new kind of aircraft. Others thought it was a show or a trick. But deep down, everyone felt something was wrong. The air became heavy. Birds stopped flying. Dogs barked and ran. Phones stopped working. Then came the silence. No sound, no wind, no noise from the city. The world seemed to hold its breath. The black ships stayed in the sky like shadows frozen in time. No light came from them, no message, no movement. Just their silent presence above every major city. In New York, a boy pointed up and asked his mother, "Are they here to help us?" She didn't answer. Then, without warning, the first attack began. Blue light came from under one of the ships. It shot down like a beam and struck the city below. Cars flew into the air. Buildings cracked. People screamed. But there was no fire, no explosion. The beam didn't destroy it, took everything touched by the light vanished. Cars, machines. Even the ground itself. It was as if the beam ate matter, like a vacuum. And in less than 2 minutes, a whole section of Manhattan disappeared. The same thing happened in other cities. The beams came down, took everything, then stopped. The ships didn't talk. They didn't warn. They just took. World leaders tried to respond. They sent fighter jets to the skies, but none came back. Missiles were launched, but they never reached the ships. Something invisible stopped them in the air. In London, people gathered near the Thames watching the sky. One ship lowered slowly, almost touching the rooftops. It opened, and strange machines flew out. They looked like spiders, but they flew like birds. These machines moved fast, too fast. And wherever they landed, they scanned the area and started collecting things: metal, fuel, even water. It became clear they were not here to talk. They were not here to share peace or knowledge. They were here to loot. In Paris, an old man cried, as the Eiffel Tower was scanned and taken, piece by piece, into the air. In Cairo, the Great Pyramids were swallowed by the blue light. In Tokyo, entire blocks disappeared in silence. It wasn't war. It wasn't invasion. It was theft. And the worst part, humans could do nothing to stop it. The President of the United States called an emergency meeting with the United Nations. The screens were filled with worried faces. No one had answers. No one knew who the enemy was, where they came from, or why they were doing this. Some believed it was the end. Others thought surrender might save lives. A few wanted to launch nuclear missiles, but everyone knew it wouldn't work. Then, something strange happened in Pakistan. In a small town far from the cities, a farmer saw something fall from the sky. It was a small alien drone, one of the spider-like machines. It had crashed into a tree and wasn't moving. The farmer called others. They were scared but curious. Carefully, they carried it to a nearby university. Scientists began studying. It was built from a kind of metal Earth had never seen. Its systems were too advanced, too complex. But there was one thing they noticed. The machine had taken damage. It had weak points. At the same time, in Brazil, a group of teenagers threw rocks at one of the spider drones. Seemed stupid. But one of the rocks hit the drone's eye, and it fell to the ground. Everyone ran, but then they came back and saw it wasn't moving. It was dead. The news spread fast. The machines were not gods. They could be hurt, they could be broken, could be stopped. And that small truth was all it took. In Berlin, a man gathered neighbors and set a trap using an electric cable. One of the machines walked into a tent. It shorted out. In Kenya, villagers built nets and caught one. In Canada, hunters used an old EMP device and shut one down. It wasn't much. but it was hope. People began to fight back not with tanks or jets, but with whatever they had. Old tech, traps, knowledge. Across the world, small groups formed. They called themselves the Fire. It's not an army, but a spark of resistance. In New York, a firefighter named Danny saved a girl from being taken by the blue light. He dragged her from the edge and hid in the subway. There he found others hiding. A former scientist, a police officer, a hacker. Together they made a plan. The plan wasn't to win. Not yet. The plan was to survive, to learn, to watch the enemy and understand how they worked. And maybe, just maybe, to strike when the time was right. Back in the UN building, the world leaders didn't know about Danny. They didn't know about the net in Kenya or the EMP in Canada. All they saw were the cities falling. They were scared. They wanted to talk to the invaders. But no voice came from the ships. No reply, no contact, because the looters didn't care. They didn't come for war. They came for resources. Humans were just in the way. But the looters made a mistake. They thought humanity would bow. They thought Earth was weak. They thought fear would break people. Instead, it lit a fire. That night, the skies were still full of black ships. The cities were quiet. People were scared. But across the world, something had changed. In dark basements, people worked with old tools. In forests, groups trained with old weapons. In labs, scientists studied broken alien parts. On rooftops, lookouts watched the skies. Earth was not ready for war. Not yet. But the looters were no longer unseen. They were being watched. And somewhere in the shadows, humanity's fury was waking up. Not loud, not fast, but burning like a fire under the ashes. The skies had broken open, but the storm had just begun. The world was no longer the same. Cities were quiet. Streets were empty. People stayed inside, watching the skies with fear. The black alien ships still floated above every major city like giant shadows. They didn't leave. They didn't move. But they kept taking. Every day, more things disappeared. Roads, bridges, machines, entire buildings lifted into the sky by the strange blue light. Sometimes people were taken too. Screaming, crying, begging, but the light showed no mercy. It wasn't war, it wasn't invasion, it was looting. That's what the resistance called it. They came for loot. They didn't want peace. They didn't want to rule Earth. They didn't want to talk. They came to steal. Gold, oil, technology, clean water, fuel, heavy metals, and even human bodies. To them, Earth was not a home. It was a shop to be robbed. Across the world, people were afraid. Governments were silent. Many leaders had gone into hiding. Some had been taken. Others had vanished. And those who still tried to lead had no plan, but in secret places. The resistance was growing. In London, a young woman named Layla hacked into a broken alien drone. She worked day and night with a group of engineers in an underground lab. They found strange signals inside the drone's memory. Symbols, patterns, maps. The maps showed other planets. All empty, all destroyed. Leela stared at the screen. "These ships," she said, "have done this before." They had looted other worlds, millions of lives lost, cities erased, planets turned into dust. The same black ships, same blue lights, the same silence. It was never war. It's just clean, fast looting. Earth, Leela whispered, was just next on the list. Half a world away, in a bunker near Mumbai, an old general named Ro was building something with a small team of scientists. They had collected broken pieces from 5 alien drones. They had learned how the energy beams worked. It wasn't magic, it was science. Powerful? Yes. Advanced? Yes. But not perfect. These machines, General Ro said, have limits. Pointed to a diagram. The drones needed power, a lot of it. If the beam was active too long, the ship would overheat. If it overheated, it had to shut down. And in that short moment, it could be attacked. Just a few seconds, Rowe said. That's all we need. In the ruins of Berlin, a small group called Firehands trained every night in silence. They used old military tools, homemade, explosives, and stolen alien tech. They were not soldiers. They were students, bakers, drivers, and parents. But they had seen enough. They had lost homes, families, friends. Now, they wanted payback. They started small, one drone at a time. Then they moved to bigger targets. Supply bots, scanners, power banks. Anything the aliens needed, they attacked. And each time they got better. In the forests of Canada, hunters used snowmobiles and EMP arrows to bring down to alien scouts. In Nigeria, engineers turned an old radio station into a signal jammer. In Japan, hackers broke into the city's power grid to track alien activity. In Chile, miners used dynamite to destroy a floating drone station. None of these were big wins, but they made the aliens notice one night. Above the skies of Mexico City, something new happened. The alien ship above the city opened wider than before. A huge object came down slowly from it. It wasn't a drone. It wasn't a scanner. It was something alive, tall, thin, covered in armor. Wade had 4 arms and glowing eyes. It floated just above the ground and gave a signal. Suddenly, hundreds of spider machines jumped to its side. The creature didn't speak words, but its message was clear. It was time to respond. That night, parts of Mexico City burned. That area where resistance had been seen was hit with fire. No blue light this time. This was punishment. This was revenge. The resistance had woken the looters' attention, and they were angry. Back in New York, Danny and his group watched everything on. Old monitors powered by car batteries. The subway tunnels had become a safe zone for many people. There were now over 200 survivors in their section. They had little food, no medicine, and no real weapons. But they had hope, and they had information. The scientists in their group, Dr. Miles, had built a scanner using alien tech, discovered something surprising. The black ships were not only looting, they were also listening. They're studying us, he said. They want to learn how we move, how we think. Frowned. Why? They've already won. Dr. Miles shook his head. No, not yet. They expected no resistance. But now, we're fighting back. They're trying to understand why. Danny looked at the others. Then let's give them something to study. That night, the New York resistance hit their first target, a small supply drone station hidden on a rooftop. They climbed silently, used magnets to climb steel walls, planted explosives, and ran. The explosion lit the night sky. The people hiding in the subway cheered. The aliens, once cold and silent, finally responded. One of the black ships shifted. It moved for the first time since it arrived, and that simple movement caused a wave of fear. Everyone on Earth felt it. If the ships could move, so they could destroy cities in seconds, but they didn't. Instead, the ships released more machines, bigger, faster, smarter. Machines with better armor and stronger weapons. The looters were adapting, but so was humanity, in a hidden lab in Moscow. 2 young scientists created a virus, a digital virus. When uploaded into a damaged drone, the code spread. The drone stopped moving, then started shaking, then it exploded. They cheered. The virus worked. They called it Fury. Soon, copies of the Fury virus were sent to other resistance groups. Hackers in Seoul used it to crash a scanner. Fighters in Italy used it to bring down a drone tower. Even a group of students in Australia uploaded it into a flying unit using a hacked phone. The looters were losing small pieces, and they didn't like it one day. A signal came through. It wasn't from Earth. A message, simple and strange, played. Through hacked screens and broken phones. It wasn't in any human language. But Dr. Miles and Leela, now working together through the Resistance Network, translated it one word. Warning. Someone somewhere was watching, maybe another world, maybe a survivor from another looted planet, or maybe something else. But the message was real. Earth wasn't alone in this galaxy. And now, others knew Earth was fighting back. Danny read the message again and again. Warning, he whispered. Us or them. Or them, it didn't matter, because war was coming. Not just looting. Not just stealing. Real war. And Earth would have to be ready. The black ships were still there. Still quiet. Still taking. But something had changed. The looters were no longer in control. Not fully. For the first time, they were being hurt. For the first time, they had to react. And somewhere, deep in space, someone had noticed. The fire had spread, and humanity's fury was only growing. The sky was still black above every major city. The alien ships floated in silence. They didn't blink. They didn't speak. They just stayed, watching, taking. Waiting every day something else disappeared: machines, minerals, technology, even human bodies. The world no longer looked the same. Empty streets, burned homes, broken power lines. But the most terrifying thing was the silence. The looters didn't talk. They never explained. They just acted until something happened. Tokyo, it was late evening. The city was quiet. Most people were hiding underground. The drones were active, moving between towers, scanning and taking what they needed. Then, in a dark alley, something went wrong. A tall alien foot soldier, a living creature in silver armor, stepped into the alley. It was looking for survivors. It moved silently, scanning walls, doors, trash bins. It didn't see the boy. His name was Kai. He was only 16, had been hiding there for 2 days. He didn't breathe. He didn't move. But when the alien turned toward him, its glowing eyes lit up. Kai ran. The alien followed. It moved fast, faster than any human. It climbed walls. It jumped over cars. It was hunting. Kai ran down the stairs of an old office building. He reached the underground parking garage. But the door was locked. The alien stepped into the room. And then something unexpected happened. Kai slipped on the floor. There was a metal pipe nearby. Without thinking, he grabbed it and swung. The pipe hit the alien in the head. Nothing. The alien reached for him. Kai swung again, this time harder. The pipe hit the side of the armor, right near the neck. A spark, a sound. The alien froze. Kai hit the same spot again. And again. The alien collapsed. It didn't move. Kai stood there, shaking. He had done it. Somehow, he had killed one. Not a drone. Not a scanner. A real alien soldier. He didn't waste time. He dragged the body behind a broken car. Then he ran back to his group. Survivors, fighters, people like him. When they saw the alien body, no one spoke. They didn't believe it, but it was real. It was the first alien. Soldier killed by a human, and it changed everything. Across the world. When the message reached the resistance network, hope returned. People cheered. People cried. Even the strongest enemies could bleed. The scientists began studying the body. It was tall, strong, and fast, but not perfect. The armor had a weak point near the neck. A small gap. That's where Kai had hit it. Soon every resistance group around the world knew about the weak spot. They trained for it, built weapons. To aim for it. Knives, arrows, bullets, even spears. In Berlin, a team of rebels used a trap made from steel wires. They caught an alien foot soldier and stabbed its neck from above. In Turkey, snipers practiced hitting the same point from rooftops. More. Aliens started falling. Not many, but enough. The looters were learning something. Dangerous. Humans were not just victims anymore. They were becoming hunters. But the aliens did not stay silent. They sent more soldiers. Bigger ones, stronger ones, covered in heavy armor. In Paris, 2 entire buildings were destroyed just to kill one resistance cell. In South Africa, they poisoned a water supply used by survivors. In Chicago, they burned down a whole neighborhood where humans had attacked a drone factory. The price of resistance was high, but people were no longer afraid. In New York, Danny's group received a signal. Leela in London had cracked part of the alien command system. She discovered that the ships above each city were not just ships, they were control centers. Each one ran its own group of drones and soldiers. "If we can take down one ship," she said, "we break the chain." It's Danny nodded. "Then let's bring one down." The plan was crazy. No human had touched one of the ships. They floated too high. They had force fields. They had defense drones. They could destroy a city in seconds. But Dr. Miles had an idea. The alien ship above, New York, had a power pulse every 6 hours. During that 3-second pulse, its shield weakened. If they could send a powerful enough signal during that exact moment, they could fry its core. "But we need to get close," Miles said. "Real close." The closest working machine was the half-repaired alien drone they had found weeks ago. They rebuilt it. They wired it with explosives. They added the Fury virus, and they painted a name on the side, Earth's First Punch. On the night of the attack, everyone in the New York resistance watched from the subway tunnels. Danny and a small team guided the drone. Through the city, using an old laptop and satellite wires, the drone rose slowly toward the black ship. One mistake. One signal drop. One drone sighting, and the whole mission would fail. At exactly 3:02 a.m., the pulse began. The ship flickered. The shield dropped just. For a moment, the drone hit the underbelly of the ship and exploded. The shock wave shook the buildings. Sky turned red. A long, strange sound echoed across the night. The black ship caught fire. It didn't fall fast. It cracked. It broke. It burned. And then, with a deep rumble, it crashed into the ocean. The people of New York saw it fall. Some screamed. Some cried. But all of them understood one thing. One of the alien ships had fallen. The impossible had just happened, for the first time since the invasion began. Earth had struck back, and won. The news spread around the world. The ship in New York was down. The control system was offline. Drones stopped moving. Alien soldiers near the city became confused. Slow. Broken. The resistance used the moment to strike. They captured weapons. They rescued people. They gathered parts of the ship, and more than anything, they studied it. The black metal was hard, but not unbreakable.
Ow.
The power source was strange, but it could be tracked. The systems used heat vents. Those vents could be targeted. New weaknesses, new knowledge, new hope. But victory came with a warning. The alien command knew what had happened, and they would answer. The sky above New York stayed empty for 2 days. Then, more ships arrived. Not just 1-3 each larger than the SHL. Each larger than the SHL. First, no more silence. This time they sent a message. Every screen, every phone, every wall, every sky billboard. A voice, deep, cold, not human. You will not resist. You will surrender. You will be forgotten. It wasn't a request, it was a promise. But Earth had already made its choice. It would not surrender. Not now, not ever. They came for loot, but now they had war. New York was burning again. The black ship that had fallen brought 2 days of victory. People came out of hiding. They sang. They cheered. They believed. But it didn't last. 3 new alien ships had appeared. Bigger, deadlier. They didn't. Wait, they didn't speak again. They attacked. The first blast hit the water near the city. It boiled the sea. The second hit a building where resistance fighters had gathered. The third hit the old bridge, turning it to ash in seconds. It wasn't looting anymore. It was revenge. Across the world, the looters sent a new message. Same words repeated on every screen. You resist, you burn. And they meant it, in London. The sky turned red as beams of energy hit power stations. In Rio, a stadium full of survivors vanished. In Moscow, a hospital was lifted into the air. Everyone inside was taken. They were done being silent now. The looters wanted fear, and it was working. Many resistance members died. Safe zones were destroyed. Communications were broken. Danny watched the screens in the New York tunnels. His hands were shaking. They're hitting everyone, not just fighters. Dr. Miles nodded. They want us to feel helpless again. Leela's voice came through the speaker from London. Then we don't give them that feeling. She was alive. Barely. Her lab had been hit. But she escaped. The team was split. Some captured, some gone. But the hard drive survived, and they had found something. The black ships used nodes, Lila explained. Think of them like brains. Each one sends signals to drones, scanners, and weapons. She had found how to locate those nodes. They're hidden, she said, but not unreachable. A new plan began. Not to fight every drone, not to save every building, but to cut off the mind that controlled it all. In India, General Rowe gathered a team of resistance fighters. It stolen parts from drones, crashed ships, and broken weapons. Engineers from 6 countries worked together. The goal was simple: build a weapon that could destroy a node. But time was short. The retaliation was getting worse. In Kenya, the looters destroyed farmland. In Canada, they froze lakes with strange energy. In Egypt, they covered pyramids with black shields, taking them piece by piece. And in space, more ships were coming. Earth was not facing one fleet. It was facing a system. And that system didn't like mistakes. Still, humans fought back. Small groups hit targets. They used tricks, disguises, explosives. They turned fire against the looters. They hit fuel stations. They jammed scanners. They spread the Fury virus into new machines. In South Korea, a team of students dropped a signal bomb on a flying drone nest. In Nigeria, villagers used mirrors to blind a scanner long enough to cut its legs. Every attack was dangerous, but each one gave Earth more time, and then finally the weapon was ready. It was built in the mountains of northern India. It looked like a large cannon. It didn't shoot bullets or fire. It used sound, deep, sharp, vibrating sound, at a frequency only the alien nodes used to speak. Layla had decoded it. Dr. Miles improved it. General Rowe called it the Scream. Scream could overload a node from 2 kilometers away, but it had to be aimed directly, and it could only be used once before the enemy responded. They needed a test. They picked a black ship hovering above. The broken city of Warsaw. It had fewer defenses after weeks of fighting. A small team carried the Scream through tunnels, sewers, and bombed buildings. The looters didn't notice until it was too late. At dawn, the cannon fired. No explosion. No light, just a strange sound, like metal screaming underwater. Then silence. And then the black ship dropped. No blue light. No shield. No warning. It just fell. And when it crashed, the drones in that region stopped moving. Soldiers collapsed. Scanners froze. Another win. But this one was bigger. It meant the looters were vulnerable. They could be blinded. They could be stopped. They could be killed. Earth had found the enemy's brain, but the enemy had also learned something. Humans wouldn't give up, and that scared them. In orbit, deep in one of the alien command ships, a new creature was awakened. Taller than the others? Stronger? It had no name, just a title. The Watcher. The Watcher had seen planets fall, but never like this. Never with so much resistance. It watched Earth, studied the fighters, the code, the attacks, and it made a decision. Earth would not be looted anymore. Earth would be erased. A full attack was coming. Danny saw the signs, more ships appearing in orbit, more strange movements. He turned to Dr. Miles. We're running out of time, Dr. Miles agreed, but we still have weapons. The Fury virus, the Scream cannon, knowledge, and something else. Hope in Tokyo, Kai now trained others. His story of killing the first alien soldier had become legend in Paris. Children helped build signal bombs. In Cairo, families dug shelters, not to hide but to protect supply lines. The world was on fire. But the fire wasn't just destruction. It was resistance. It was anger, it was human fury, and it was far from over. The looters had pushed too far. They thought fear would make humans fall, but instead, it made them rise. The earth was breaking. Skies were dark with ash and smoke. Cities were empty shells. Rivers were poisoned. And in the sky above, the looters hovered like vultures waiting for the final breath. But Earth wasn't dead. Not yet. The fire was still. Burning in hidden places, resistance groups worked without sleep. Some used alien tools. Others used old weapons. Many used only courage. They had no armies. They had no fleets. But they had something the looters couldn't understand. They had each other. Danny stood in the broken control room of an old train station. In New York, the screens flickered, powered by car batteries and hacked cables. He looked at the map. Red marks showed fallen zones. Blue marks showed alien activity. The green marks were growing. Those were resistance victories. Dr. Miles stepped beside him. More nodes are falling. 3 this week.
Danny
Nodded. They're weakening. But they're also preparing something, Miles said. More ships in orbit? Bigger? Heavier? They're scared, Danny said quietly. Far away, in a snowy village in Norway, Layla worked with a group of hackers. They had stolen hundreds of data files from a damaged alien control panel. She found something inside deep code, hidden. Messages and strange symbols. They're copying us, she said. The looters had been watching Earth for years before the attack. They had studied humans, language, art, war, fear. They came only when they believed Earth would surrender quickly. They never expected this much resistance. Now, they were trying to adapt. But copying is not the same as understanding. That was there. Weakness they don't feel, Layla whispered. They calculate. But they don't understand why we fight. That same night, an old ship rose from the shadows of South America. It wasn't human. It was alien. But humans had rebuilt it. Had crashed early in the invasion. A small team of engineers, soldiers, and students had worked on it for weeks in the jungle. Now, it flew. They called it the Phoenix. It was the first human-controlled alien ship. Inside the Phoenix was Captain Zara, a pilot who had once flown Earth's fastest jets. Now she flew something far more dangerous. The mission was simple. Test the ship in space. Find a weak point in the looters' command fleet. Return with data. The mission was not to win. It was to learn. As the Phoenix rose through the clouds, everyone on the Resistance radio network went silent. They listened to her heartbeat through the speakers. Above the Earth, she saw it. The truth, the Black Fleet was huge. Dozens of ships. Some as large as islands, some shaped like knives, others like towers. They weren't just here to loot, they were ready to destroy. Zara pushed forward. The ship's shields held, the scanners worked. She found a small ship away from the main group, a scout or a control node. She fired a blue beam hit the enemy ship. It didn't explode, but it cracked. And inside the crack, organic parts living tissue, Zara gasped. They're part machine, part flesh. Before she could fire again, the warning light blinked. Enemy ships had noticed her. She turned. The Phoenix dove toward Earth. Chased by 2 dark ships, the sky over the Atlantic lit up as the ships exchanged fire. One of the black ships exploded. Mid-air. Zara made it back. Barely, but now they knew the truth. The looters weren't just machines. They were something more, part technology, part life. And maybe, just maybe, they were afraid of dying. The data from Phoenix changed everything. Dr. Miles studied the scans. They have pain sensors. They feel damage. That means they feel fear. Danny nodded. Then we'll give them something to fear. Across the world, a plan was forming. The nodes were the mind. The ships were the hands. But the thing behind it all, the command, was the heart. If they could reach it, they could end this. In Germany, a resistance group found an old communication tower still standing. They turned it into a signal booster. Lila used it to send one message across the galaxy. It was short. It was clear: we are still here. We are still fighting. We are not alone. The message wasn't just for humans. It was for anyone out there who had survived the looters before. Someone had sent a warning to Earth. Maybe someone would answer again, but Earth couldn't wait for help. The enemy was preparing to strike one. Last time, they were building a weapon in orbit, something large, something powerful, something final. Danny stood before the resistance leaders. His voice was steady. We fight now. We fight with what we have. With ships, with virus code, with fire, with stone. We fight with everything. Firehands in Berlin agreed. The tunnel fighters in Cairo agreed. The jungle crews in Brazil agreed. Even the scattered teams in Australia sent a signal. Ready. It wasn't just a battle now. It was the beginning of the final war. The looters had made one. Stake too many. They thought they were stealing from Earth, but they were waking it up. And the fire they started would not die. It would burn its way into the sky. The Phoenix flew higher than any human ship before. It moved fast, cutting through the sky, rising above the clouds, climbing into space. Captain Zara sat in the pilot seat. Her hands were steady, her eyes sharp. She had trained for years in the Air Force, but nothing had prepared her for this. She wasn't flying a jet. She was flying a weapon made by enemies, rebuilt by humans, inside the ship. Every system was powered by both alien technology and human creativity. Dr. Miles had helped modify the controls. Lila had coded the firewalls. Danny had given the mission just one name: Operation Ember. Plan was simple. Go into orbit, find the command. Ship.attack its weak point, and come back alive. But they all knew it was more than that. It was Earth's first counterstrike in space. 2 more ships followed the Phoenix. They were not alien, were built by humans, in secret, deep underground. They weren't strong, they weren't fast. But they carried something important, the scream cannon. It had been upgraded now. It could reach farther. Now it could hit harder. The 3 ships rose together, silent, brave, focused as they crossed into orbit. They saw the Black Fleet, dozens of ships, dark, cold, waiting, some shaped like towers, some like wings, some like beasts, and one massive, terrifying, shaped like a crown sat in the middle. That was the command ship, the heart of the looters. The target Zara took the lead. Stay low, shields on. No noise unless we're seen. The smaller ships followed. They moved beneath the enemy fleet, using shadows and debris to hide. But the looters were watching. From the command ship, the Watcher saw them. It didn't blink. It didn't move. It just sent a signal. A wave of energy passed through the fleet, and then the ambush began. 3 alien ships shot forward from the right, faster than anything on Earth. Zara shouted, "Break formation! Evasive!" The Phoenix turned sharply. Lasers flashed through the dark. The first human ship took a hit. Fire burst from the engine. It exploded, spinning into pieces. The second ship tried to escape, but a drone latched onto its side. It exploded too. Only the Phoenix remained. But it wasn't running. It was aiming inside the ship. Special pod opened. It carried the new scream. Cannon Zara pushed the control forward. Let's show them Earth's voice. The cannon fired. There was no light, only sound, low, deep, strange. It echoed across space like thunder in the dark. It hit the command ship, and for a moment, just a moment, the black ship stopped. The lights flickered. The shields cracked. A piece of armor fell off inside. Creatures screamed. Zara used that second to launch 2 missiles into the exposed side. Boom. The blast tore a hole in the command ship's wall. Zara turned. Mission complete. Returning to Earth. But it wasn't over. The Watcher had seen enough. It sent 10 ships after the Phoenix. Zara flew hard, dodging beams, flipping through debris, diving toward Earth. One hit the side of her ship. Alarms rang, smoke filled the cockpit. Systems failed, but she didn't stop. She aimed for the atmosphere. The Phoenix shook. Metal cracked, wings burned. She pushed harder. Come on, don't die yet. Behind her, alien ships stopped. They couldn't follow her into the thick part of Earth's air. She had made it, barely. The Phoenix fell fast. It crashed into the ocean near the east coast. Resistance boats pulled her from the wreck. Zara was alive, the mission was a success, and the data she brought was priceless. Dr. Miles scanned the readings. They bleed, he whispered. The command ship is alive, Lila added. It feels pain. And that means it can die. The resistance cheered. The humans had hurt the heart of the enemy, and now they knew where it was. But the looters had also learned. Dangerous Darth could strike back. Earth was not weak, and for the first time since they arrived, the looters hesitated. They stopped looting. They stopped attacking. They pulled their ships. Closer together, they were defending. Danny looked at the sky. The ambush didn't break us, he said. He turned to the people around, hemfighters, hackers, doctors, teachers. It woke us up. The fire had reached space, and Earth was no longer just a target. It was becoming a force. Storm, a fury, and it was only getting started. The Earth was scarred but not broken. Cities had turned to ash. Oceans hid burning wreckage. The sky still carried the smoke of 1,000 battles, but under the rubble, Earth was speaking in hidden labs, old bunkers, broken satellites, and dark caves. Humans were sending one signal, one message, across every frequency, across space. It wasn't just a cry for help. It was a warning. We are not alone. We are not finished, and we are not afraid. And someone heard it. The signal passed beyond the solar system, beyond the star belt, beyond what humans thought was known space, and somewhere far away, something answered. At first, it was just a soft pulse in a forgotten resistance radio tower in Alaska. Then it repeated, and then it turned into sound. A language, not human, not looter. Something else. Dr. Miles worked day and night to decode it. Lila cross-checked it against every known alien pattern the looters had used. It didn't match. It was new, truly alien. And finally, the message became clear. You fight like we once did. We will come. Everyone in the resistance room fell silent. For the first time, Earth wasn't just fighting alone. Hope had arrived, but they didn't know who or what was coming. Danny stood up. We keep going. We don't wait. But now, they know they aren't the only ones watching. In space, the Black Fleet moved slow, cautious inside the command ship. The Watcher had seen the signal too. It knew what it meant. Others had survived their invasion. Others still lived, and worse, others still remembered. The looters weren't just afraid of Earth now. They were afraid of the truth, that they were no longer the top hunters in the galaxy. Back on Earth, Zara was recovering. Her flight into orbit had left her wounded, both body and mind. But her spirit had grown sharper. She stared at the stars through a cracked window in a mountain base. You bled? All across Earth, people were preparing. The fire hands were rebuilding old satellites. The jungle fighters had captured an alien drone and reprogrammed it. The desert nomads in Africa hacked the looters' long-range communication tower and now used it to spy on their plans. Everywhere, resistance was growing. And then, something unexpected happened. A ship arrived. It was not black like the looters. Fleet, it was silver. Silent, it did not fire. It did not demand. It only sent one message. Request to land. We are not your enemy. Earth had no idea if it was. True. But Danny made the call. Let them land. Let's see who answered. The silver ship landed in the Iceland wastelands. Quiet place, covered in ice and fog. A perfect place for first contact. A small team waited. Danny, Zara, Layla, Dr. Miles, a few resistance fighters. The ship opened, and what came out wasn't human. But it wasn't looter either. It was tall, gray-blue skin, thin arms, large black eyes, but soft, almost gentle in movement. It didn't carry weapons. It carried a broken blade, old, rusted, burned. It knelt and placed the blade on the ground. Then it spoke. This was once ours, until the looters took everything. They were survivors from another planet, long destroyed. They called themselves the Ellerin, The last time they fought the looters, they lost. But Earth's resistance gave them hope again. We cannot give you ships or armies, the Ellerin leader said, but we can give you what they fear most, knowledge. They handed over data. Maps of the looters' old attacks, weaknesses, patterns, and something else, eh? So, one that could crawl through looter ships and infect their control system if delivered directly. Danny held the chip in his hand. This could end it. But it had to be placed on the command ship's core. That meant someone would have to go up there, not just attack, but go inside the enemy and survive long enough to finish it. Zara stepped forward. I'll do it. Everyone turned. No, Danny said, you've done enough. She shook her head. No, I started this in the sky. I'll finish it in the stars. The room was silent. Then Layla spoke. She won't go alone. Dr. Miles nodded. We'll make sure she gets inside. The final mission was forming, the last strike, not from the ground, but from space, they called it. Operation Fury. It would be Earth's most dangerous mission, and its last chance, as the stars turned above. The Earth prepared for one last burn, a fire that would reach into the heart of the Black Fleet and make the looters. Remember, they didn't come to loot a weak world, they came to wake up a monster. And now it was angry. The plan was simple, too simple. Get one ship into the heart of the enemy fleet. Land on the command ship. Insert the virus. Destroy the core. Escape, if possible. But no one believed the escape part. Zara didn't care. She had already made peace. With that, the Phoenix had been rebuilt against stronger, faster, deadlier out. It carried the Ellerin virus in a small silver pod hidden under the control panel. Beside her sat Layla, eyes sharp and mind faster than any machine. Behind them were two fighters, Jamal from the African Desert Strike Team and Hannah from the Arctic Ghost Unit. Neither spoke much. They were killers, quiet, focused. They called themselves Team Ember, and their mission was Earth's final blow. As the Phoenix rose into the dark sky, humans across the planet stopped and watched, on phones, on hacked alien screens, through broken windows. Everyone was watching. It was more than a mission now. It was Earth's answer. They flew past the moon, no turning back. Far ahead they saw it. The enemy fleet still dark, still huge, still waiting. But this time they were ready for it. Fight. The command ship opened its shields. It was a trap. But Zara smiled. Good, I hate chasing. The Phoenix dove in. Enemy ships swarmed like insects. Lasers lit up space. Zara spun the ship left, right, upside down, diving, cutting through. Leela fired back with auto-dash cannons. Jamal used the missile systems. Hannah hacked an enemy drone and turned it against its own fleet. They weren't flying. They were dancing through death. One by one. The alien ships exploded behind them. And then the Phoenix slammed into the command ship's hangar. Metal screamed. Fire burst. The Phoenix, which slid and crashed inside. Everyone jumped out, coughing in smoke. Zara grabbed the virus pod. Move. The clock's ticking. They ran through dark halls of steel and slime. Looter creatures swarmed. Jamal fired. Hannah cut them down with stolen alien blades. Layla kept guiding Zara to the core. They know we're here, she said. Zara laughed. Good, let them come. They reached a massive door. Behind it was the command core. Zara placed the virus pod on the control panel. Uploading. The lights flickered. The floor shook. Something was waking up from the ceiling. The Watcher dropped down, not just a leader, it was a monster, 10 feet tall, armored, skin, eyes like burning coals. It didn't speak. It attacked. Jamal fired. Nothing happened. Hannah stabbed. Nothing pierced. Zara dodged, rolled, fired to blast. Still nothing. Then Lila saw it. The light behind its eyes. That's the control node. Zara tossed her last blade to Hannah. Hannah jumped, flipped, and stabbed the blade deep into the Watcher's face. It screamed. It fell. The virus uploaded. The ship began to shut down. One by one. Lights turned off. Engines failed. Weapons froze. Zara looked around. They had done it. They had killed the heart, but they were trapped. The Phoenix was gone. No escape pods. Then Zara looked out a window. The Ellerin ship was coming. Just one fast. It docked just in time. The team jumped aboard as the command ship began to collapse. From orbit, Earth saw it. The command ship cracked in half. Fire poured from its sides. The Black Fleet stopped moving. They had lost their control. They were blind. And then Earth's defense teams fired. Lasers, missiles, sound cannons. The Black Fleet exploded ship by ship. The sky lit up like a second sun. The war was over. Back on Earth. People cried, cheered, held each other. The impossible had happened. Earth had won. Not because it had better weapons, not because it had more ships, but because it had humans. Because it had rage, fire, unity, and something that looters never understood. Earth never gives up. Zara stood at the base where it all began, bruised, burned, alive. Beside her stood Donnie, Lila, Dr. Miles, Jamal, Hannah, and the Ellerin. He looked at her and asked, "What now?" Zara smiled. "Now we rebuild. We heal. And next time they think about coming here," she looked at the stars, "they better remember this day." Earth was no longer just a world. It was a warning. A message written in flame across the galaxy. If you come for Earth, be ready to burn.